good thing in this very state that we are living in. It is true, the civic space has shrunk, as we all understood, whereby it is not even supposed to, but because we have, our voices have not been heard, when you try to uplift your voice, then you'll be lowered down by always. The other point is, it has contributed to okay, it has led students or people to get less information. The youth or the young people or university students are no longer involved in informing people, because once you get the information, you want to present it, maybe you pass it through the media, it will be looked upon, and they will look at it, does it really hold water? And if they find that it is maybe talking ill about the government, of which it could be, it might be ill, but when it is positively being done, of which you need to talk about it, you have a right to information, you have a right to talk about it, you need to express, to really express yourself, to promote causes associated to your country, to your place, or to your school, or any other. So the Shrinking Civic Space has really contributed to the low information. The other point is that it has led students to fail to be in good contact with good and direct contact with the government, because when we students want to try maybe to observe our freedom, that they say like freedom of assembly, let us assemble, or freedom of expression, let us do this. We even in freedom of association, you need to, maybe you have a right to be in conjunction with other organizations. When you get to an organization, maybe you want to part an aid in doing something good, and that that organization is these are the civil societies now. If it wants to bring something that maybe will try to bring people out of the poverty, like if they says that the organization could be, even when it is not doing it, could be a political organization, they won't allow you. So we just look at it and that, and of course, when they don't allow you, you'll not be in good terms with the government. So it has really contributed students, or it has really led students to fail to be in good contact and to be legit, okay, to be in good contact with the government. The other point is, there's no strong and social justice right now. Currently, there's no, it has lowered the strong social justice, because when, like, if at all, I'm a student now, we are home, but we are seeing some students schooling, like from international schools. Of course, we know that those are big, those are students of, let's say, those are students of government officials. So when you try to say, please let us strike, why should we be kept home when other students are studying? And then they will call it that, I don't know how even they may refer it to, but actually it really affects it really affects, and it has contributed to injustice, because we are not just, others are home, others are at school. So what is that? And when you as a student, you want to come up with that, when you want to talk about that, you will be shut down. Then the other point is, it has led to...
Okay, as you conclude on that, Expeditor, your time is fast spent. Please conclude on that point.
Okay, thank you. I'll talk about, it has led even students to not to respect and observe the law, because when we try to follow the law, we are always opposed. You say, please, we have a freedom of assembly. So let me organize these people. We assemble together somewhere. Maybe we have some issues or something that you want to talk about. You won't be allowed. So why should we even respect the law? It has led us to not even respect the law, because the law is there. But when you want to use it positively, it doesn't work. I thank you. I submit, Madam.
Okay. Thank you, Expeditor. Thank you for your submissions and for your arguments in answering the question of how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplace for ideas. Now, I'm taking the floor to Ndaga Farouk to answer the same question in 5 minutes. Yes, Farouk. Okay, I can't see Farouk online, and I cannot see Karara Elkana online. Okay, Farouk is back. Farouk is back with us. Farouk, we are waiting for you, and a question has been posed waiting for you. The question of how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplace for ideas? And you are to discuss that in 5 minutes. Over to you, Farouk.
But I haven't been getting you clearly because of my network. I don't know whether I'm heard visual and audible.
We can hear you. If you have network problems, just put off the video. We can listen to you via audio. Okay, I think for a moment we have lost.
Maintaining our status quo as Uganda, extending just within, when you look at Makerere University, what normal happens. Currently, what is happening at Chambogo University, where some finished clearance, you find appeared on what? Their names of students is entitled, and it's actually what makes a person to enjoy at the end of 3 years or 5 years at the university. So when they come out to cry and they're put down, meaning that the space around them is shrinking. When you look at the guild elections, where opportunities given to the students, for example, the guild presidential campaign, you find that people go on a strike, they destroy people's property. Thereafter, the government comes in my definition, I put it clearly, when the government comes in, definitely the space around will start shrinking because the rules and the implementation of the laws will definitely abuse some people's rights when they are enforcing the law. Now we need to see a reason as why the civic space is shrinking. Is the misuse of the freedom given to the students at different places. Let us take example of Makerere University once again. These students are decided, actually they are not satisfied by the services offered, but the way they demand for the services, it doesn't give a way for them to receive them. When somebody, for example, if you have your mother at home, your children need to eat food, but they start beating you. Do you give them food? Or you first defend yourself? This is what actually is happening. So we need to look at why and how can you solve this. In my own way is that we should use the civic space given to us as students in the universities sustainably without affecting any law or distracting any other or anyone's peace. Therefore, the civic space of the universities will be maintained, and we shall move at the same pace. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much, Karara Elkana, for that opening statement. So all our debaters have given their opening statement. We have heard from Francis, who answered the question of what is the current civic space, what is the current state of civic space in Uganda. He told us clearly that it is shrinking. We have also heard from Kule Expedito, who answered the question of what is the current state of civic space in universities. He explained how it is shrinking. We have had also opening statement from Ndaga Farouk, who answered the question of how does university students utilize civic space? And he clearly gave us examples of patriotism clubs and so forth. Then lastly, we had an opening statement from Karara Elkana, who answered the question of what is causing the shrinking civic space in Uganda. And he explained to us the causes of this, and he talked about things to do with the political influence from government, students misusing the civic space that is given to them. So now we are going to the next stage of our debate. We have had our opening statements. We are going to the next stage, which is the main issue in this debate. And each debater is going to have 5 minutes to answer this general question. And the question is, how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplace for ideas? So this is a general question which will be answered by all the debaters in 5 minutes each. I'll repeat the question, which is, how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplace for ideas? I'm going to start right away with Francis Semogere. You're going to have 5 minutes to answer this general question. Francis, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to start with answering the question first. And it is saying that how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as marketplaces for ideas? So I'm going to start right away with giving out my opinions or points. First of all, I would like to draw something back from philosophy. Some philosophers say that the internet, which we are using right now, it was out of the research that was carried out by university students to find out how witchcraft operates. And this research was carried out from Nigeria. It was carried out by a university which operates from America. So they found out an internet, which we're using right now and we are enjoying. So going to the topic, I could say that if, as we are saying right now, at first I said that the space for ideas or the civic space is now shrinking. I can give a point and say that it affects universities or it affects students because they become reluctant on some issues. For example, they fear involving in politics. As I said earlier, that some of the students that are always on the side of other students, for example, the guild councils, I'll always give the example of Makerere University. So, and I'll give an example of a man called Obed Derrick. This man is always an activist at Makerere University. So he's defending the rights of the other students. In that process of defending the rights, he's always arrested and brutally beaten, plus some other students. Putting aside that man, there is also the opposition members. Some of them are coming from parliament, others are on LC, councillors, and so many others. You are always beaten and arrested. More especially those in universities, they fear to exercise their rights because involving in politics is also a freedom of someone. So another thing I could talk about that, it is also due to this shrinking civic space it also brings reluctance of students in innovativeness. As I started earlier with the other issue of internet and what else. In Uganda here, if you come out with any something that is new, it is always very difficult to go and succeed. Some few months back, I saw someone was not at the university, is not educated, but he can plan something. He made a tractor, made an helicopter, but he's missing some things. He's not having the materials that he can use to boost up his business, to boost up what he can do. So this favors some people with good ideas, which leads our country to always stay behind, to always drag behind. Because most of the times I always tell my friends, I tell them that if those white people, if they decide one time and say, let us leave Africa, we're not going to stay in Africa, let us take everything from Africa, let us disconnect ourselves from Africa, I tell them that we cannot survive. But why? Because most of the times you're seeing the money of the taxpayers is always utilized by some few people, and that money could be used to help to help those innovative people that have good ideas. Recently, I just heard about this COVID-19 vaccine that was discovered by a man who's called Uganda. But from then, I've never even heard anyone else saying that I'm using this like this medicine, this antivirus. It is not working. I don't know whether it is not working, but the money was given out, was given billions of money, but we are not seeing anything. So if this money is put at the universities to facilitate those people with some hidden talent, some good innovations, at least our country would boost up somewhere. Another thing I could talk about that if the shrinking space, if the civic space is now shrinking, it means that students will also become reluctant in protecting their rights. It is okay. I'm sorry, but I'm saying that this civic space, because it is shrinking, it also brings about reluctance of students in protecting their rights. Most of the students, when they see that their leaders, their top officials, they are at least put under arrest, so they will also fear to come out with such demonstration taking their rights, because they know if they protest, it means they will also be put behind bars. So I think if the space, as we said before, that it is shrinking, it will also make people uncomfortable at the universities. It will make people they'll not know their rights. And another thing, those people will not participate in politics, and lastly, they will not be innovative just because they don't have support from the government. I think my time is out. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, Francis, for your arguments and answering that general question. Now we are going to have Expedito answer the same general question in 5 minutes. So I still repeat, the question is, how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplace for ideas? We agreed earlier on that this space is shrinking right at the university as well. In Uganda, generally, we have seen all these laws coming in. We have seen arrests of the different civil society activists. We have also seen the different arrests that have been taking place of supporters of the different political candidates during elections. We have seen the shutdown of internet. We have seen Facebook up to now is not operating in Uganda. We have seen all this happening. So we are answering the general question of how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplace for ideas? Over to you, Kule Expedito.
Thank you so much, moderator. I've liked the question. How does the shrinking civic space context affect the universities as marketplace for ideas? Yeah, we are all aware that universities are centers for ideas, because though our basement is the primary level, but at least at the university, it is where it is where we really experience practical of the knowledge, the real critical thinking and serious innovation. So how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplace? One thing, the answer to that, I'll first answer it by saying, because the question is, how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as marketplaces? How? It has lowered the use of civic education, whereby in civic education we are expecting students to have knowledge about different rules and the regulations concerning the country, and indeed we really have them in different courses or in different aspects we do have at the university level. In civic education, it is where we find things of democracy. It is where we find things of freedom to assemble, freedom of association, freedom of expression. And in civic education, we all believe that students are supposed to be given chance to express their feelings, to participate in giving out information, in getting also information from here and there by the research. But it is now lowered. So the civic education has lowered, and that is one of the reasons, it is an answer to how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplace. Secondly, it has lowered the combination of knowledge, skills, and values and motivation. The shrinking civic space where there is no awareness, there is no more meeting, like we have no right for a sample right now. We cannot assemble and think about here and there. So it has really lowered the combination of knowledge, skills, values, and motivation. Like, as I earlier said, that meetings are restricted, and if they hear that you're organizing a meeting, even before COVID-19, once they hear, or once the government hears about any meeting, maybe if raised by a student, let's say a student is trying to make something in relation, and if it comes in the way of if it is political, you really face it rough, and of which it wouldn't be a good thing in this very state that we are living in. It is true, the civic space has shrunk, as we all understood, whereby it is not even supposed to, but because we have, our voices have not been heard. When you try to uplift your voice, then you'll be lowered down by always. The other point is, it has contributed to it has led students or people to get less information. The youth or the young people or university students are no longer involved in informing people, because once you get the information, you want to present it, maybe you pass it through the media, it will be looked upon, and they will look at it, does it really hold water? And if they find that it is maybe talking ill about the government, of which it could be, it might be ill, but when it is positively being done, of which you need to talk about it. You have a right to information. You have a right to talk about it. You need to to really express yourself, to promote causes associated to your country, to your place, or to your school, or any other. So the shrinking civic space has really contributed to the to low information. The other point is that it has led students to fail to be in good contact with good and direct contact with the government, because when we students want to try maybe to observe our freedom, that they say like freedom of assembly, let us assemble, or freedom of expression, let us do this. We even in freedom of association, you need to, maybe you have a right to be in conjunction with other organizations. When you get to an organization, maybe you want to partner it in doing something good, and that and that organization is these are the civil societies now. If it wants to bring something that maybe will try to bring people out of the poverty, like if they says that the organization could be, even when it is not doing it, could be a political organization, they won't allow you. So we just look at it, and that, and of course, when they don't allow you, you'll not be in good terms with the government. So it has really contributed students, or it has really led students to fail to be in good contact, and to be legit, to be in good contact with the government. The other point is, there's no strong and social justice right now. Currently, there's no. It has lowered the strong social justice, because when, like, if at all, I'm a student now, we are home, but we are seeing some students schooling, like from international schools. Of course, we know that those are big. Those are students of, let's say, those are students of government officials. So when you try to say, please let us strike, let us demonstrate, because we have a right. Let us demonstrate to say that why should we be kept home when other students are studying? And then they will call it that, I don't know how even they may refer it to, but actually it really affects it really affects, and it has contributed to injustice, because we are not just, others are home, others are at school. So what is that? And when you as a student, you want to come up with that, when you want to talk about that, you'll be shut down. Then the other point is it has led to...
As you conclude on that, Expeditor, your time is fast spent. Please conclude on that point.
Okay, thank you. I'll talk about it has led even students to not to respect and observe the law, because when we try to follow the law, we are always opposed. You say, please, we have a freedom of assembly. So let me organize these people. We assemble together somewhere. Maybe we have some issues or something that you want to talk about. You won't be allowed. So why should we even respect the law? It has led us to not even respect the law, because the law is there. But when you want to use it positively, it doesn't work. I thank you. I submit, Madam.
Okay. Thank you, Expeditor. Thank you for your submissions and for your arguments in answering the question of how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplace for ideas. Now, I'm taking the floor to Ndaga Farouk to answer the same question in 5 minutes. Yes, Farouk. Okay, I can't see Farouk online, and I cannot see Karara Elkana online. Okay, Farouk is back. Farouk is back with us. Farouk, we are waiting for you, and a question has been posed waiting for you. The question of how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplace for ideas? And you are to discuss that in 5 minutes. Over to you, Farouk.
But I haven't been getting you clearly because of my network. I don't know whether I'm hard visual and audible.
We can hear you. If you have network problems, just put off the video. We can listen to you via audio. As we wait for Farouk, Elkana, you have 5 minutes. Please answer the general question of how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplace for ideas? Karara Elkana, the floor is yours. You have 5 minutes.
Yes. Yes, a very good afternoon to you. I think to.
You want
Saidi. Okay, please, my network is not so clear. You give me just after 5 minutes to give me another time. I request. My network is not okay. I need to get a proper network, please. Moderator.
Farouk, he is not online with us right now. As we wait for Farouk to come back online, I'm seeing Karara Elkana is back. As we wait for Farouk, Elkana, you have 5 minutes. Please answer the general question of how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplace for ideas? Karara Elkana, the floor is yours. You have 5 minutes.
Yes. Yes, a very good afternoon to you. I think to.
You want
Saidi.
Okay, now
please, my network is not so clear. You give me just after 5 minutes to give me another time. I request. My network is not okay. I need to get a proper network, please. Moderator. Madam Moderator, please, you give me another.
Yes, Elkanah. Do we have Farouk back? Farouk is not with us, and Elkanah has asked for 5 minutes. Okay. So as we wait for Farouk and Elkanah to organize themselves and get back with us, I would get back to Francis, and we have let's shift the discussion. Let's shift the discussion a little bit as we wait for our two colleagues. Let's shift the discussion to, yes.
I'm back.
Okay, then. Okay, Farouk, we are glad to have you back. So before you got a network problem, you were supposed to discuss for us the general question of how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplace for ideas? You have 5 minutes to discuss for us that question.
Okay, Madam Moderator, am I heard in terms of audio and video?
Yes, we can see you clearly well and we can hear you well.
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. Madam Moderator, I wish to inform the entire audience that the university is meant, its existence, it is meant to upgrade our capacity. In other words, the university is meant to, for capacity building towards any student. So that's why we elevate our academic status from A level to the university. However, shrinking civic space affect the university. What we have to know, what is the role of a shrinking civic space? The background of the students are in there, meaning that they are meant to promote their culture. The students utilizes the civic space in terms of aspiring for different positions in the different offices, let's say the guilty councils, in the sense of DRCs, MPs, ministers, and the like. However, there is shrinking civic space. And how does this affect the universities? Meaning that we have to analyze the effects of minimizing the civic space at the university level. First of all, there will be extinction or the disassociation on university level in the names of Kutasa, Baganda, Nkubazambogo, Banyoro Batolo, and the like. However, when that social aspect or social togetherness is banned, then there will be eradication of culture. Secondly, there will be promotion of half-baked leadership, because the leaders that shall be brought in from there, they will not be able to criticize. They will not be able to make cross checks and balances over what is being done administratively, because we are having the guilty council, we are having the parliament and the like, which is aimed at bringing checks and balances. So that will be no more. So those leaders that will have been upbrought, they will be half-baked. We shall not get good service delivery, because we are bringing up leaders who are misinformed about what to do, how to do, and when to do it. Thirdly, the shrinking civic space shall demarcate different universities as they are meant to build the capacity of different students, regardless of what course do they do. That's why many students have ended up doing different courses, doing different works in different fields, regardless of what they might have studied at the university. So what brings about this? It is brought about by the fact that the capacity of a student who has graduated is more valued, and there is a lot of expectation from such a student away from those who have not attended a university. Meaning that in case you create no opposition at different levels, you are bringing up people or students who are green You are bringing up people because one fact we have to believe from Mahatma Gandhi, he said that when there is no opposition, there is always paganism. Hope I'm clear on that. So the effect of shrinking civic space shall run on different levels, call it students level, university level, even up to when we have headed into the field. So we have to maintain, I think, that civic space so that to promote different spheres of life. Another effect shall be, ladies and gentlemen, who shall be watching us, shrinking civic space context shall affect the universities in the way that it shall reduce on the number of students, yet away from its noble agenda, because universities are always business places for those who are founders of institutions. But when those upcoming students to the university realize that there is such and such, there is banning of freedom of expression, there is banning of our culture, because we are not meant to sit together to discuss what affects us as a collective society, let's say culturally we have a chiga, and we are not meant to address that, then that tarnishes the name of any single institution. As I'm submitting finally, the shrinking civic space context in what some institutions does, it shall lead to the extinction of public politics or active politics. Little wonder, this was witnessed, ladies and gentlemen, at Kampala University. The candidature of NRM students were funded at the contrary of those who are leading or those who are having the flags of opposition. So if this comes into the mind of those who would wish to stand for any position, some people cannot stand in politics at their own opinion. Some have not managed to develop their own ideology, following what they have found in place. So if at all this comes into the minds of those who are victims or the beneficiaries of different spheres of life, so this discourages everything. So not only the universities conclusively that shall lose, not only the personal stakeholders, not only the parents or the entire society, all of us, we shall lose as the effects of shrinking civic space lead us to hell, because it brings down the entire social, political, economic, and other spheres of life as concerned. So, Madam Moderator, the shrinking civic space affects all of us. So I think I've managed to answer your question, Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much, Farouk. Yes, you've managed to answer the question, and we shall get back to that. But let us hear from Karara Elkana, who's going to give us an answer still to that question in 5 minutes. And the question is still the same, which is, how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplace for ideas? So the floor is yours, Elkana.
Okay, thank you very much. First and foremost, I would like to apologize for the network. My network is not so stable. I'm up country. To answer the question, how does the shrinking civic space context affect the marketplaces of ideas at the universities? Let me hope I got the right question. Thank you. When first and foremost,
the question is, let me just repeat the question. The question is, how does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplace for ideas?
Okay, thank you very much. I think now I got it right. How does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as a marketplaces of ideas. We're looking at universities. I will take mainly Uganda being our perimeter. I will take mainly about 5 universities, and that is to say, including my Kampala University, Makerere University, Chambogo, and Ndeje. And let me pick one from Gulu University. So I'll pick a number of universities from those, and then I'll refer my case to. When you look at the civic space, how does it affect? One, it inflicts fear in students. This we have seen it, and we have viewed this on TVs. We have experienced it in our physical lives, and we have seen how some people are actually afraid of expressing their freedom of speech, movement, participation, or even development of talents in different corners as a result of the shrinking civic space in our universities. Let me use Makerere University as once again as our case study. Of the recent strikes that happened in Makerere, you find out some students have gone into behind bars, into prisons. They're imprisoned, and some of them actually have missed their semesters. Others went ahead and have been dismissed from universities, and has even dismissed indefinitely, because I've been following some of the stories. When you look at this, one, when somebody is dismissed, meaning the rate of participation for this person even in the national activities will be reduced. This person will not have access to apply for jobs or to work for the nation, because we believe the youth or the young people are the future of tomorrow. But I believe the young people, we are the future of today. We should not wait for tomorrow to come. So if the civic space around the universities are shrinking, then the access to participation is totally reduced. Even development of talent will be reduced. You find out that some people have talents of, we have the debaters, we have the politicians and the university, young politicians and the young people. You find out that their things have been reduced in participation. So, while looking at the shrinking, it has led, actually, when you look at some schools, some students have dropped out at university level due as a result of the shrinking space, of the civic space. When the civic space shrinks, some people are no longer comfortable. Some people's lives are no longer comfortable at the universities. Why? Because when you look at those who are actually the culprits or the victims, the victims of, let me use the example of the strikes. You find out that these people are actually afraid. I personally engaged in the guild elections, where I became the Right Honorable Prime Minister of Kampala University. That is 2020, 2021. We have seen the challenges. You find out that some students are being supported by the government, and those who are running independently, actually the civic space of participation were reduced for us. You find out that some people were given overwhelming money. If you don't have the money to facilitate, then you always feel out of space. So what we are trying to say is, when you don't have that access to the freedom that you need, definitely you will try to isolate yourself from that environment. And for example, this environment you're talking about is the university context. So when you look at this, some people being funded by the government, other students are just normal students. And this same applies to all the other universities. You find out, especially in the guild elections, some students actually drop out. We had in the previous guild elections at Kampala University, we had some students who actually, after the guild elections, had to leave school. Why? Because the civic space is reduced. The space of freely participating, or the space of freely communicating. This person is no longer, there's no communication space for this person, and the person has to drop out of the university. A second year student, up to now, I don't know where he is, but he actually went offline. So these are the challenges that we are seeing. After you engaging in an activity, how do you cope up with the situation again at the the same environment. So the civic space should be made, let me say, moderate or favorable for at least every student to fit in. Being it what we call the first class people, being it the second hand or the middle class or the third middle or the third class people. So we look at this that the civic space at the university should be created moderate, and we the beneficiaries of the civic space at the universities should use it sustainably, knowing that there are other people who are coming after us to use the same space at the university. Dear Madam Moderator, I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, Karara Elkana. I think we are going to have a follow-up question on that later on. You have clearly emphasized right from your opening statement about students being able to use their civic space responsibly. We are going to have a follow-up question on that later on. But let me get back to Francis Semogere, and we have a shift of discussion. We would like to look at a different angle. Now, the question is, do you think that there is any relevance in restricting civic space? We want to look at it from the point of the people who restrict the civic space. Earlier on, we had a discussion and there was a submission on government. I think that was from Elkana. He argued there is interference from the government, there's political interference into the civic space and making this civic space shrink. So we would like to look at this from the angle of the people who are creating and who are making the civic space shrink. Do you think that, what relevance do you think that these people look at to shrink the civic space? Francis, are you still with us? Do you think that there is any relevance in shrinking the civic space? What do you think that the government looks at? We earlier on in our discussion said that the government is the main body that ensures that this space is shrinking day and night. And then there is politics, and later on we are going to look at other stakeholders. So looking at it from the angle of the government, do you think that there is any relevance in shrinking the civic space?
Okay, thank you. So personally, I think the government has done a great job in implementing or in shrinking the civic space in universities. You can ask how. As my colleagues have just explained earlier, I think the government is like it is so much involving in issues, for example, like the politics. I mean, I've just talked about it, but you can find out that in some universities, a student to go through, you must be of a certain political party, and that is the ruling party. So I think from there that the government has done a very great job. It is not good, but it is a great job in causing this kind of shrinking freedom. Because when you talk about the shrinking civic space, we talk about the freedom of speech, the freedom of expression. We talk about very many things under that. So if you say that if the government interferes, if the government does not stop on just interfering on matters concerning the nation, and it goes beyond interfering in matters concerning the campus, so it means that these students, because what I can talk about, it is like this. It is not that the campus security guards and others are the ones that come and arrest the students, but it is the police that has to serve the nation, that has to guard the students, that has to guard to protect the citizens. It is the one that comes in and arrest the children. And in Uganda, in the culture of Uganda, when you arrest someone when he's still young, so it's like a curse. So I put that blame on the government under that umbrella. So another thing, I also think that the government has to be blamed about the shrinking civic space in Uganda, because it is like, for this one I can blame the head of state. You can ask me how. We have the honorable, I can say the honorable member of parliament, or the minister of education and sports. But this minister of education and sports, I can say that she's I don't know even how to say it, but I can say that let me call her dormant. I can say that she's dormant, because most of the issues, they are taken up by the president himself. So about that, I can say that the government, because the president, I think, is the government, himself is the government, because he's operating in everywhere, every situation, every corner, is the one that we are seeing that he's leading. So I may say that the government under the president, they are the ones that are causing this space to shrink, or to get low, or to get close. And at some point in life, I think it will end. And then we find out that we don't have any freedom in the universities. We don't have any freedom in our country. Those freedoms I've talked about, the speech and expression and so many others. We may find out one day that they are not in position, or we don't have it. We don't possess them. So that one is also blamed on the government. So another thing I can talk about, I think another thing I could talk about before blaming some other parties, I think the government is also not doing their part. If the government was doing their part, they may like put a council that has to go to campuses and find out what is moving on. Are the students enjoying their rights? They may find out, are they studying? Are they doing what? Because it is among their rights. So the government has failed also in that area to go and monitor their campuses or their institutions. So the government has also failed in doing that. So in failing to do so, or in failing to do such, it ends up in causing the shrinking of the civic space in campuses. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much, Francis. Now, I would like to bring in Kule Expedito into this discussion. Now, right from the beginning, from our opening statements, we have listened to the blame being put on government being in perpetuating the main reason for the shrinking of the civic space. Now, I would like to shift the discussion. Is it the only body that is responsible for the shrinking of the civic space? If it's not the only body that is responsible, then what are responsible for the shrinking of the civic space in the universities and in Uganda at large? Let me bring in to that question.
Please, can I hear back the question? I've not heard it very well. Try to break it.
Okay. Yes. So from the beginning of our debate today, right from our opening statement, we have been mentioning that it is the government that has been responsible for the shrinking of the civic. So now, is government the only responsible for the shrinking of the civic space in Uganda and in the universities? If not, then which other bodies are responsible for shrinking space in Uganda at large and as well as in the universities?
Okay, thank you so much. Mostly, I would say it is the government. However much, there are other societies, there are other associations that have led to the shrinking of civic space. I want to tell you that there are some political parties. I can bring that there are some political parties. Yeah, the biggest issue goes on government, is true, because we have seen what has done, and it is not all observing the importance, or it is not implementing the importance of civic space. However much, there are some other bodies, like there are some other political bodies whereby whereby you find a political party for it, its role is to disagree without even accepting anything. So, and if they keep up with that, disagreeing, not doing the rightful things, so the government ends up also bringing an issue of it ignores it, because if you are using your rights in a wrong way, it means you are not going to the government won't tolerate with you. Of course, it must also it must also come to defend the citizens. If it is to say like yes, people or students have a right to demonstrate, and then your demonstration becomes actionable, it becomes worse. You start stoning people, you start demolishing houses, you start doing all this. So the government comes in and say, yes, you have a right to demonstrate, you have a right to do this and that, but however much it is exceeding now. So there are some other associations or parties that have led also to the that have led to civic space shrink. However much they lead to this because maybe there is a reason, or they are not also much more informed about this. But me, I would basically say there's no reason why it should shrink. The civic space, I don't advocate for its shrinking, and I believe through doing what you're doing right now, through exercising and doing all this and this, we shall be overcoming this, because we still need it and we demand for it, because it really educates us. It really puts us to a situation where we are supposed to know that, yes, I'm a citizen. This is what I'm supposed to do. Yes, I need to observe the rights. I need to ask for my rights. I need to do this and this. We must be able to participate in what it requires. If it requires us maybe to have assemblies or what and so on. So let us utilize this just very well. If you are to assemble, you talk what is relevant, not what is irrelevant. Otherwise, I advocate for civic space to continue, and I don't even allow it to shrink, because it is also helpful, especially to most of the people. You know, civic space, some of the students have taken it in a way that it is political. Civic space is all about politics and so on and so forth. Living behind the other side of development, because when you're meeting, when you're discussing, when they give you a right to participate, you need not only participate in politics, you need also to participate in other developmental issues. I want to conclude by saying that let us all embrace the work of the civic space. Let us advocate for it, so that we know that we have a healthy democracy, we have a strong social justice, and we can safeguard our rule of law. I thank you. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. Before I bring in Farouk, I would like to first get back to Karara Elkana. Oh, we don't have Karara at this point. Okay, let me bring in Farouk to. There's a point that Karara made earlier on. He kept emphasizing that the students themselves need to utilize these civic spaces properly. The students have themselves been misusing civic space. So I'm asking that question, have the students themselves contributed to the shrinking of the civic space? Yes, Farouk, I would like to bring in Farouk to answer that question.
Moderator, am I visually okay?
Yes, you're fine, you're okay. We can see you and we can hear you properly.
You're okay. You have asked whether the students have, pardon the question?
Have
Madam
the students, yes. The question is, first of all, before I even ask, earlier on, we had a discussion and we heard from Elkana, who continuously emphasized the need for the students themselves to utilize the civic space properly. He even emphasized that students have been misusing the civic space. So now I pose the question, is have the students themselves contributed to the shrinking of the civic space in the universities?
Okay, Madam Moderator, I've got you well. Now, or to a less extent, I agree that some students have misused their opportunity to utilize the civic space in the way that they take it for granted as if there is no regulation, meaning that though many of us, me inclusive, we advocate for civic space, but as well, we have to know our limit. We have to know where we should stop at the point of or at the end of the students. Um, a point in a case, some students take the opportunity of demonstrating to to implement their own agenda or their own objectives. So in the course of fostering civic space or the right to freedom, the right of association, there must be mutual communication, mutual understanding between the party of the institution or the government and then the students. Because the government or the institution, its prime objective is to ensure that all operations are under control. All operations are in the direction where they are meant to go. But with the disruption of unrightful demonstration led by the revolutionary thugs, let me call them like that, yeah, who go to the street, they steal people's property, they distract them and all that. That is not right. So we should first check on how we exercise the civic space as the student. So to go back to Mr. Kara's point that also students have to know how to manage or how to explore their limitations. Meaning that on a certain extent, we the students have all contributed to the shrinking civic space because of the following reasons. We don't follow protocol because a university is a mighty institution that might have designed its setting in a way that able has or handled. So what we do as the students, we don't respect those that are governing us. It's pressurized by youthhood and childhood to express our how can I call it? Our mind is always not exhausted as to the capacity of someone who can reason. Sometimes we behave as if we are not intellectuals. Though at the university, we are meant to be intellectuals, we are always adult and all that. But we exercise absolute rights, which causes harm, death, disruption, and the like. So I hold that true, that to some extent, we as students, we contribute to the shrinking civic space. Madam Moderator, without any wastage of time, I think I've exhausted that question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Farouk. So we are going to the solution part of this debate. We started off with our opening statements where we answered the different introductory questions. We talked about the state of the civic space in universities, in Uganda generally. We discussed what is causing the shrinking civic space in Uganda, in the university, and we discussed how the university students utilize the civic space. We have generally apportioned blame and looked at the different stakeholders responsible for the shrinking civic space in Uganda and the responsibility of the students themselves. Now we are shifting to the solution part. We agreed the space is shrinking. Now here comes the question, the first, which is, what are the roles of the student in providing solutions in universities? So let us start from the universities themselves. And I'm bringing in Francis to answer this question, to start off with us, Francis Emogere. So what are the roles of the students in providing solutions to the shrinking civic space in universities?
Excuse me, madam, your network was not clear. Madam moderator, your network was not clear.
Are you able to hear me? Okay, are you able to hear me now?
I can hear somewhat.
Okay. Okay, Farouk, can you hear me? Just to confirm, to make sure that it's not just Francis who is not able to hear me.
For me, I can hear you clearly, Madam Moderator.
Okay, so Francis, are you able to hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear.
Okay.
I can hear you now.
Okay, so Francis, the question is, what are the roles? What role can the students play in providing solution to the shrinking civic space in universities? What role can you as students play to become a solution? We have seen the problem. The problem is there is, and we are saying we need the civic space, but unfortunately it is shrinking due to different reasons that we discussed earlier. So what role can the students play in ensuring that we save this civic space from shrinking completely?
Okay, thank you. What students can do just to increase on their space or to utilize their space effectively. And first of all, I could say that students need sensitization. They need to be sensitized about some issues. For example, their rights. Students should be sensitized about their rights. Just get to know if they are sensitized, if they are told that this and this, you can demand for this and this, then it becomes very easy for the student to go to the administration and then say, this one, this and this is not right, this and this is not right. But if they are kept in dark corners, or if they are ignorant, demand for their rights, cry out loud and say, I never you go to this campus. But if the students' body or the guilty council or the leaders of the students, if they get in touch with them, they teach them about their rights, they teach them about what is right and what is wrong, then that one becomes very easy for the students to go out and demand for their rights. Another thing, another solution they can read about and know, it is students should also be given the students, the student, I could call it the students' regulations and rules. That they can be taken up by the rules that are given to them rightfully on the starting day of reporting to the school or to the campus. So that one makes it very easy, or it helps the students to get to know what is right and what is wrong, so that they can utilize their space effectively and maximally. Then I think that I can talk about, it is like students should write journals. They should be able to write journals in newspapers, everywhere, even at campus, saying this and this, this and this is our right, this and this is our right, this and this is our right, this one we should not do this, we should not do this, we should not do this. So they should write the do's and the don'ts. If they do that, every student who reports at campus may be exposed to those written materials and be able to, and that student becomes able to follow the campus regulations and rules. And then at the other side, the student should be able to know his rights. For example, there are some campuses or there are some schools where you find that students are enjoying the poorest vitamins, or they are enjoying the poorest kind of food, and they don't know that it is their right because they pay for that food. But if the journals are written and the students are informed that this and this, that you have to eat this food, you have to eat this food, you have to eat to feed on this dietary, then it becomes very easy for those students to go out to the administration and say, this kind of food is not that, it's not that we were told that we're going to eat. But you find students eating food and then go out and complain. They say this food is not good, this food is not good, just because they don't know what they have to do and what they don't have to do. Then another thing, what I can talk about it is students should also join the debating clubs. These debating clubs, they're always very good in a way that if students are in the debating clubs, they find it very easy to associate with others. Yet associating it is also part of the other big topic we're talking about. They find it very easy to associate with others. They find it like very easy to know about their rights. They find it very easy to involve in very many useful activities. For example, about the human rights, you find that some teachers, because I can give an example on me just because I'm a teacher. So you might find some teachers, they go down and punish students severely, and then the student goes back home when their leg is broken, when behind is having a lot of pain. But just because they don't know their rights, they think the teacher is the alpha and omega. So they find it very difficult to go and cry out for their rights. They find it very difficult to go and demand for their rights. So I think with those solutions, with those ideas, if they are put in position, if they are put in, if they are activated, if they are put in position, they can help students to utilize their space actively and maximally. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator.
Okay, thank you so much, Francis. Now, I would like to bring in Expeditor. Let's move out of the university right now and we get into Uganda as a whole. And earlier on, we also agreed that there is the civic space is shrinking. I mean, there's a lot that has been going on, like the examples that we gave earlier of the arrest of the different civic activists. There is total control of the media, including social media, total control where UCC just comes out and says, you know what, we need a total shutdown on social media. Then they even went ahead towards election and say, you know what, we want a total shutdown of the internet. And then we have also seen even Parliament itself sits and comes out with laws that totally works against the civic space, that closes the civic space each and every day. And as earlier I gave example of these laws, we looked at the Public Order Management Act that came into force. We looked at the NGO Act 2016. We looked at the Computer Misuse Act of 2011. We have looked at all this that have been trying to water down the civic space. So, and here is the question: how do we save the civic space at this moment? What do we do to be able to save the civic space from completely shrinking in this country? So let me bring in Expeditor to answer that question.
Okay, thank you so much, the moderator. One, what we are going to do first is to sensitize. Even the people in government have observed that the people in government, they don't know what is all about the civic space, because for them, they just handle issues their own way. So let us advocate for sensitization. Let us teach the community about what is the civic space, what is democracy, what should they demand for? Do they have rights of citizenship? What is all about it? You know, we need to understand and embrace the issue of civic space, or the presence of civic space, because it fights for someone who is also behind in the village, someone who is down, even someone who doesn't know in as far as he's a human being. Because we have advocates like the Center for Constitutional Governance. We know that in case you have anything that maybe you want to know much about the Constitution, you want to know much about the status quo of the country, and as far as leadership is concerned, you can consult the Center for Constitutional Governance. So I credit Center for Constitutional Governance for that. But someone in the deep village, very far in Kasese, on the slopes of Mount Rwenzori, will not really identify this question for Center for Constitutional Governance. He will not know about that. So the rest, all education is, all students, we advocate for sensitization. Let us reach these people. Let us tell them, please, you have a right to do this, you have a right not to do this. Secondly, let the government also be in a position to know that the law appears and no one is above the law. So please, when we are advocating even for this, because when you tell them, please, you have a right to assembly, you have a right for association, you have a right for expression. You can contact you can give information here and there, but now even you look at the status, the current status now where Facebook is limited. We saw it even during the election period, whereby we were not even able to access any social media platform, let's say the Twitter, the Facebook, and the WhatsApp. We were restricted. Why was it that we were restricted? We cannot even get an answer. If you know that the country is secured, what a fear for? Securing a better future. So how are you securing it when you know that the country is all that is not all that is secured? Because if you really believe in your children, you can be able even to send them to go and harvest without you, and indeed they can do it. But now, why a doubt? Why should you doubt in us? When we assemble, when, like, if at all there is an NGO, it wants to talk about, let's say, it wants to talk about democracy, it wants to tell people about the law and so on. Government will have to intervene. Government will have to intervene. Why? If you really believe that, like, they haven't given NGOs mandates to do this, of course they really deserve to do this. I advocate them also to to enter through this and help us in the sensitization. The other thing is, I will talk about civic education as a key term that it should also be evolved. Civic education should be taught all from level 1 up to the university level. I advocate for that, and I request, if at all it can be able, this civic education should be made a compulsory subject that everyone is supposed to do, because we are citizens. We may not be knowing how we live and what we should do, the do's and the don'ts. That's why people are innocently in prison, because they are not sensitized. They don't know what to do, or they don't know what is supposed to be done, and they don't know what is not supposed to be done. People are ignorant about the law. People doesn't know what is happening. So I urge you and I to always advocate for this, and we call upon the community to know much about what they are supposed to do. We need to claim for our rights as individuals, but you'll find even someone doesn't know that he has a right to speak, he has a right to information, he has a right to this and this. So sensitization is a key term.
Okay, we will come back to you at a later stage, Expeditor. Let's have Farouk. Let's have Farouk on board first to answer that same question. We have seen Expeditor is saying we need to sensitize. We have also had so many people say, you know, we have worn t-shirts about corruption. The t-shirts are already torn in the name of sensitization. Corruption is still there. We have worn t-shirts on HIV and AIDS. The t-shirts are torn. We are using it to mop houses right now. But HIV is at its peak. So I would like to bring Farouk into the discussion. Do you agree with Expeditor that sensitization is the way to go, or is there more that we can do to be able to save the civic space that is already shrinking? Over to you, Farouk.
Okay, thank you so much, Madam Moderator. First and foremost, I don't agree with that factor of retrieving or recovering the shrinking civic space, because all of that have been done and they have not helped out. But but there's one wise man once said, if you want to love the world or to get love from the world, first go back to your family and then love your family. Meaning that if each of us does the same thing of making yourself that same thing you expected to be, then everyone shall reach his or her absolute status. Meaning that we should be exemplary, ladies and gentlemen. If each of us becomes exemplary, then we shall be stable, because we are always seized or squeezed by the government simply because we go contrary to its procedures. But meaning that if we get back to our normal procedure, then we might be executed probably by the government. Point number 2, we need to know, we need to get a common understanding what causes this. What is this all about? After realizing that NGOs have been banned from monitoring the election, these foreign observers, they have been censored by the government. The press has been censored. The police and the army have been acting so brutal to the citizen simply because they are practicing their civic space. So we need to know what causes all of this misunderstanding between different stakeholders, that is the police, the army, the government, the ordinary citizens, then the NGO. For me, I think the best alternative would be coming up with a common dialogue that brings about all of the participants to come together to get a common understanding on how have we handled this and when actually to handle it. Because you have seen so many scenarios, more so in the election period, when things goes disorganizingly. So this dialogue can bridge the relationship, the network, the understanding between the NGOs, which are banned at the end of elections, which brings probably wrong information about the votes, the politicians, more so the opposition leaders, things of that kind. But if the government get into the common understanding with the opposition, with the NGO, with the citizen, I think there can be peace. Other than combating, let's say, corruption or combating shrinking civic space through also demonstration, because you had ever seen President Museveni wearing t-shirt, moving around with his fellow civil servants, combating corruption, of which the next day corruptive tendencies continued. So
Farouk, as you conclude, we are running out of time. As you conclude, yes.
Okay. Conclusively, wearing t-shirts cannot work, but dialogue under how can we call this, a memorandum of understanding, if they go in an agreement that in case this party misuses this act, then this step shall move on. I think different parties shall behave in the way they are expected to. Thank you so much. I'm Daga Farouk and I submit.
Okay, thank you, Farouk. We are coming to the end of our debate for today. We are going to have concluding remarks from each debater. You each have 2 minutes to conclude. We are going to start with Francis. Francis, you have 2 minutes to conclude.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for this debate. I'm so much honored to be here with you people. As the topic has been today, as the topic has been today, that the shrinking civic space has affected university as marketing places for ideas. I've really agreed with that topic, and I will continue to agree with the same topic, just because of the following the ideas that I've given out and the points that I've explained very well and clear. But lastly, I could say that in order to widen the space or the civic space, what we people and the government has to do, first of all, I say that the president should be away or far away from some issues. The president should keep aside, and some parts of the government should also keep aside and leave some issues for some people. Not all of the things that they have to be done by the same person. For example, if it comes to let the concerned bodies come and supervise, because they are always at the ground, you can send the RDC and so many other people. Because sometime back I saw the president opening up a tap in some area, water tap in some areas. So that work cannot be done by the president. So I beg to submit from there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Francis, for that submission. Expeditor, please give us your concluding remarks in 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you, the moderator. I will continue saying that, yes, we have seen the civic space, it has really shrunk, but let us not also just look at it and we keep singing the same thing, or keep singing the same song. It has shrunk, it has shrunk. I think in this debate, we have given out solutions and ways of how we are overcoming this. What should we do? Please, I urge all NGOs to come together and advocate for this. Let us all be vigilantes of the Constitution. And I also urge the government that please, you follow what the Constitution says, because it is the guiding book that we must follow, that is regulating us. If we follow it, we can be even led without even a president. If we are following the rules, we can, though he has some big part he plays, but let us all observe the Constitution. And I urge all the educations or all students that let us properly use our freedom of assembly, our freedom of association, and our freedom of expression, but let us use it minimally and in a way that is legitimate. Otherwise, I advocate for peace, and I wish everyone who is watching us a blessed day. I thank you. I thank Center for Constitution Governance and all the moderators, or everyone who has been behind this. I'm really so humbled, and I want to thank you so much. My name is Expeditor Kule. Over to you, Madam Moderator. I thank you.
Okay. Thank you to Expeditor. Let me have the concluding remarks of Farouk in 2 minutes.
All right, Madam Moderator, I wish to conclude this topic by evaluating what all of this is caused by. And secondly, we should be able to know what if anything that we have suggested is put in place. Let's first ask ourselves, will the thing be rewinded to its normal? That is exactly no. Because the major problem, the prime cause of this is one thing. We are having a liberal government that wants not to get out of power. Because even when the NGOs are in place, there shall be rigging of votes because foreign observers shall be banned. Even when there is constitutional governance, it shall remain in the constitution as the script might say. But to rewind all of this, we should do, it should be, Madam Moderator, I think, to evacuate, to remove all of there comes a democratic government that is elected by the people and by the will of the people. Otherwise, constitutional governance shall be restored. Otherwise, democratic tendencies shall be ensured. But without this all, we shall not get absolute retrieval of civic space in Uganda. And that's why, Madam Moderator, you extracted all of this information from Uganda, not Kenya, not Tanzania, not Congo. So, Madam Moderator, away from that, I thank the Constitutional Governance, Center for Constitutional Governance for this platform granted to Kampala University, and more so on a personal level to Ndaga Farouk. Otherwise, I shall beg to submit I remain Daga Farouk Mukubabias, Computer Science and IT, third year, first semester, the president of Kampala University Debate Union. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Farouk. We have come to the end of the debate for today. I would like to thank my panelists. I would like to thank Center for Constitutional Governance and Civic Space TV for bringing this university discussing the topic, the state of civic space in Uganda. How does the shrinking civic space context affect universities as marketplace for ideas? I would like to thank all of you for sharing your views with us, for all the arguments, and would like to end here. Until next time, same place. Thank you. Bye.
Madam Moderator.